All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. So today we'll be talking about the Singleton Design Pattern. Okay. This is a very common design pattern used in Apex. And before beginning the topic, I just want to tell that these all are the topics which are good to know topics. These are not the topics which, if you will not answer, you will get rejected. These are the topics which basically kind of just add the flavors on your interview. So all the mandatory topics, like if you're not able to tell the difference between role and profile properly, no matter how good you know the singleton pattern, you will not get selected. Okay, so you need to understand that these are the added topics which you learn later on when you cover all the important topics earlier. Okay, these are additional topics. These are good to have topics, but these are not must to know topic. Okay, so give them importance accordingly. If let's say you are not strong in LWC or flows, then your proper attention should go to LWC and flows first, then you pick these topics at the very end. Okay, if you feel that all the other topics are good, you are good to give interview on those, then you can pick these to increase your extra knowledge and impress the interviewer. But these are not the topic which will, help you if you are not able to tell, let's say, basic LWC life cycle hook. Then even if you are able to tell the singleton design pattern, you will not get selected because you were not able to answer something which was a must to know topic. Okay, I hope that is clear to you all. All right, see, Singleton design pattern says that a class should only be instantiated once. Okay, a class, there should only be one object of a class, and that object should be used whenever you need that particular class's object. Okay, so what Singleton pattern says is that a class should be instantiated only once, and that object should be used everywhere. Okay. Now, definition is something which we will not focus much currently. First, we will try to understand the problem, and then we will try to see how a singleton pattern can help us solve the issue. Okay. So if you want to go in very much detail, there is a chapter 2 on the Apex design pattern book, which has this singleton design pattern. Now, this is also related to the creation of an instance of a class. So this is also a creational design pattern. Okay. We discussed last time that there are three types of design pattern. This is a part of creational design pattern. Okay, how do we create the instance of a class? Creational design patterns, all creational design patterns focus on the instantiation of a class, in creation of an object. Okay, so this is the definition. Okay, now we will talk about definition later. Okay, first let's talk about a org. Let's suppose we have an object called address in my org. Okay, this is a custom object. This stores the, the address of anything. Okay, like the pin code, street, building, city, country, and then there is an area field called full address. These all are the, let's say, custom field of that object. Okay, now this is a custom object which stores the address. This object has been used on multiple places in your org, and it's a very valid object. This object has been used throughout your org. Now, what we want is that every time we create an account or update an account, what we want is that if we just provide the pin code, and it should be able to fetch the whole address. Okay, so this address object will store all the addresses you have, let's say in a particular region or somewhere where your company is working or doing business. Okay, so this stores all the address. What you need to do is that just provide the pin code, and you will have an address associated with it in this object. Okay, so when I'm creating an account, okay, or updating an account, I just need to update the pin code and I will fetch all the addresses from this address object. Okay, so let's say we have trigger on account. I'll just write the pseudocode, nothing as full code, because focus is on explaining the concept rather than all the code. Okay, account address on account, and let's say this has everything: before insert, after insert, before update, after update, all these. Okay, let's say delete, whatever. Okay, all these things. Now you need address throughout this trigger, like you'll be needing in the before as well, in after as well, in the insert as well as in the update. So what you did, you fetched all the addresses here. You created the list of address, all address, and you queried it. Okay. Select ID, name, pin code, okay, uh, country. Suppose these all are the custom fields. I'm not putting underscore C because we are not focusing much on the syntax, but on the logic. Okay. So don't worry about from, let's say, custom object name address. Okay. Let's say we put a limit of 2000 as well. Okay. And then we will have our code if trigger dot is before, and if trigger dot is after, wherever we need, we will use it. Okay. Okay. And we will get the data from here. Okay. So let's say after, if it is in the before, let's say we did a query on for, let's say, account, account, current account, trigger dot new. And then whatever, let's say, if I want to update the address of current account, something like, let's say, billing city or something, I'll have to fetch it from this list. Okay, so I'll be either creating a list. What I have in account is that I can pass the pin code. Okay, so I can create a map of a string versus the full address, and then can use that map and get the value here. Okay, let's say we can create a map, ID, not ID, string, and this is also, let's say, a string. We can say pin code to address map. Okay, and we will get all the data from this. So we'll loop through all the addresses and put everything in this. Okay, let's say new map, same thing. So you are getting the idea. What we are doing is that from this custom object, what I am doing is that I am passing the pin code and getting the full address. Okay, and then I'm using that full address to fill the address in the current account. Okay, and every account, wherever I need address, I will use this particular uh, object. Okay, we'll create a list and then we will create a map, and everything is working perfectly fine. There is no issue at all. The code is working perfectly fine, and it is good. Now the problem comes in when we have to, let's say, again utilize the same thing. Like, let's say we have to write a trigger on opportunity, and there also we need to pull the address. Okay, so if I have to pull it again, I will have to write these code again and then frame it in a way that we can use it in the opportunity. Then let's say later on there is a object, let's say contact. where I also need address. So then also I have to write. So what I am doing, I have written one code and that code has been used everywhere, yet I have to write it again and again. So what we will do, instead of writing it again and again, any good logical developer will tell you that create a utility class. Okay, so if we need this address functionality on multiple places, then it will be a better idea to write a utility class. Now, what is utility class? Utility classes are the classes which acts as a utility. You can use it on the multiple places. You will write code in one place, and then that code can be used on multiple places throughout your Salesforce org. Okay, let's say you created a reusable component for pagination. Now, anywhere you for any list where you need pagination, you can use that code. So that will basically be your reusable code. So utility classes are nothing but the reusable piece of code you write throughout your org, so that you need not to write the same logic again and again inside the different classes. Okay, so you will write a utility class to which will take input as a pin code. Okay, which will take pin code as an input and will give you a full address in return. That will be the work of your utility class. Okay, so let's see how can I write it. Right, let's create a class. Let's call it public class address utility. Okay, again, I'm not focusing much on the full code. What I just want is I should be able to tell you how it is giving all those things. Okay, so let's say uh, there is a private list of address, all address, and let's say there is a private map which will take pin code as an input and will give you, let's say, again, full address as a result. We will call it same uh, pin code to address map. Okay, then let's say there is a constructor. Okay, and inside the constructor, what I'm doing, I will be doing the query. Okay, so all address will be equals to, here I will do all the query which I did here. Then what I'm going to do, I already have this map. Okay, is equal to, let's see, new map. We'll create an instance of it because I'll have to loop through this. So let's say this, and then for address underscore c current address equals to all address, and then I will put the value in the map. Put, so it will have current address dot pin code from current address dot full address. Okay, so that's what we are doing. What we did here is that we created a class. Inside that we have two private variables. Okay, one is the list of addresses, and one is the map. Okay, we created a constructor. Inside that, we did the query and put the values in the map. Okay, now we have one method, which is a public method, public, and this returns the complete address. Okay, public string get complete address. Okay, and this takes input as a pin code. Okay, so it will take pin code as an input, and what it will return? It will return the complete address. So how it will return? Return dot get. So if you will get the pin code, you will get the complete address in return. Okay, so that's what we are doing. Okay, now our trigger was this. So now let's update our trigger. So it was our trigger where we did all the query inside the trigger, created map and everything. It is not required now. What is required now is that we create the instance of this class. Address util is equals to, let's say, util, so equal to new address util, and that's it. Every time we need the address, what we are going to do? Util dot get address and pass the pin code. So if you pass the pin code, current address dot pin code, then this will return you the complete address. Okay, and no matter how many times you need and no matter how many places you need, what you need to do is that you will need to create the instance and then you will use it. Okay, so let's say just like the account trigger, we had an opportunity trigger. On the opportunity trigger, we will do the same thing. We will create the utility and then we will call the get address method. Anyone has any doubt till now? Okay, don't worry. Even if you have doubt, go through the video again and then come back to me. It is okay. I mean, even when I studied it for the first time, I was not able to understand. And for your information, our design pattern has not started yet. So this is the background of it. Like, how do we improve our code? First, we wrote a very bad code. Then we created a utility class and started using the utility class. Now it looks really good. Developers are very confident that now this model looks very good. We have introduced the reusability. We have introduced the utility class. Now our framework is perfect. Now our trigger framework is perfectly working fine because we have used the utility class. Now there is, let's say, opportunity trigger as well. There is an opportunity trigger as well. Just like account, we have, let's say, opportunity address trigger on opportunity. Okay. So we'll have to replace it with the opportunity. Okay. Okay. So here also we did created a util instance of this class and used it and it was working perfectly fine. Now, where is the problem? Let's suppose one account has 10 opportunities. Okay. And every time we update an account, all the opportunity address should also be updated. Okay, so let's say we updated the pin code of an account. So because pin code of an account has been updated, all the opportunity should also be updated and opportunity trigger will also run. Okay, so the transaction is started from the account. Okay. And after updating the account in the same transaction, the opportunity trigger will also execute because they are associated with each other. And when account is updated, it will fire something on opportunity, and opportunity trigger will also run in the same transaction. Okay. Now that is fine. That is very common. It happens all the time that when we run something on account, that might trigger something on opportunity, and they also gets updated. But the problem is your account trigger is creating one instance of it. One one instance of this util class. Okay. One instance will create, and it will be valid till the account trigger. Okay. What we are doing inside this, we are doing a query inside the utility class. So that will be one socle query. Okay. Now, when we go to the opportunity, opportunity again is instantiating the same class. One instance of this util class. Okay. Now, in scenarios like this, when there are multiple objects are involved in a single transaction, and if we are using the utility class, every object will create the different instance of the utility class. But are they using the different data? No, they are doing the same query. They are doing the same query. They need the same kind of data, yet they are querying it again and again. So if there are 10 opportunities, it will create multiple instances. If there are different other objects associated with the account which are running in the same transaction, they will do their own instantiation of this utility class, which again will run socle queries. So number of socle queries will increase. Even though on a smaller project, this will not make any difference. But when you work on a very large enterprise, where even the utility class have bigger roles to play, and there are multiple utility classes you are using inside your trigger, very soon you will hit the governance limit of number of sample queries allowed in a transaction, because this is just one thing. You will have flows, you will have triggers, you will have process builders, you will have workflow rules, and everyone will be doing queries. So it will be very common that you will hit the governor limit. So because your account, your opportunity, they all need the same type of data, same data. They need same data from this utility class, because the query is same for all of them. So our singleton pattern says that we should only create the one instance. We should not create multiple instances of the same class in a single transaction. Okay. So that's what our singleton design pattern is. Now we need to update our utility class as per the singleton design pattern. Okay. Now we need to update our utility class as per singleton design pattern. Okay. So how are we going to do that? What we are going to do now is, just a second. We had this class. Okay. The outer structure will remain same, public class, uh, address, util. Okay. And inside that, what we are going to do, private, those lists and maps will also be same. What I'm going to create is that private static string self instance, it is equals to null. So this is nothing but the instance of, let's say, your class. Okay, I'll explain, don't worry. And then we created a method public static address get instance. Okay, so address util. This will return the reference of the class, instance of the class. This is the method we created. Okay, and inside that we will check. Just bear with me for a minute, I'll explain it. Okay, if self instance is equals to null, then self instance is equals to new address util. And it will return the self instance. Sorry. Don't worry if you're not able to understand this completely. Okay, I'll explain it anyway. Okay. Now there is a private method, private constructor. Okay. And that will work the same way it was working earlier. Okay. It will do the query and put the values in the map the way it was doing earlier. So this constructor will do all these things. Then there is the method to get the actual address. Now we added something in the utility class. What we did, we added a get instance method. Okay, get instance method is doing what? It is checking if within a single transaction, if in the same transaction any instance of that particular class has already been created or not. So self instance is nothing but if the instance has already been created. Okay, so if it has not been created, then it will return the new instance of this particular class. How we are creating the instance of this? We are creating the instance like this. Okay. So earlier we were creating the instance like this. Here, what I'm doing now, I'm checking if in the same transaction instance has already been created, then use that instance. If the instance is getting created for the first time, then it will return the address utility instance. So it will allow you to create an object if object has not been created for this class. Otherwise, it will ask you to use the same object because it has already been created. So it will give you the same instance. So by this way, we will be able to use the same instance throughout the whole transaction. So if I use this pattern now, I will not be doing a separate query here and separate query here. It will be the it will do the query for the first time, and then it will use the same result in the opportunity transaction as well. No matter how many opportunities are there, if it is in the same transaction, it will use the same result which it got as a result of first instance creation. So it will not do query again and again. Okay. So that's how you are. And now you need not to directly create something like this. Now what you need to do is that instead of new address utility, you will be calling the get instance method. Okay. You will just write get instance, and if it is new, then it will give you new instance. If it is not, then it will give you the previous instance. That's it. You need not to do the query again and again. Okay. So that's how you are going to use this design pattern. This will save a lot of SQL queries. And this is just one example. There are hundreds of examples available, but all of them were a bit complex for me to explain to the new group we have. So I chose a very easy thing to tell. Okay. Now this, we can say that this problem could have been utilized, could have been removed by using the custom metadata or something like that. Okay. But consider that if we have to use an object which has been used on other places as well, not only just for the query or not only just to store the data, then we will not be able to use it as a custom metadata. There will be different cases you will see throughout your career where you have to utilize this the design pattern to save a lot of transaction time, save a lot of resources utilization, save a lot of SQL query results in order to do a successful transaction. So this design pattern is a very useful pattern. Go through this again. Okay. Whenever you have time. If you are not comfortable with the example, that is completely okay. In fact, I have gone through 10, 11 examples to come up with an easy solution on this. All the other examples were a bit complex. You can try some Java examples as well. That is also fine. The only problem with the Java is that the static variable we create in Salesforce, the scope of that exists only within the transaction. And in the Java, it lasts until the JVM runs. Okay, so Java is a bit different from Salesforce. Those who have Java background will better be able to tell you. Okay, so how we are going to use this? We have to address how we are creating instance earlier. We were creating instance like this. Earlier instance creation. How we will do it now? New address util dot get instance. So earlier we were directly creating the instance. Now we will see if instance is already there, then give us the previous instance or which is already there. Otherwise, create the new instance. And how it will be handled in the this method. So if it is already created, then if it is not created, then it will create the new. Otherwise, it will return the self instance which was already created. So for the first time when you will create, it will return the new address utility. For the rest of the time, it will keep on giving you the same self instance. So you will not to do query again and again. It will save SQL queries in your transaction. Okay. So let's revise it from the very beginning. Okay, what we did, we had a data model where we have an address object which stores a lot of different fields of addresses. Now we have to use these addresses on the multiple places throughout our organization. So we created a trigger on account and used this, did the query, created a map and everything. But very soon we realized that we also need these type of functionality in opportunities and contacts and other object. If we keep on doing and keep on writing the same code, if we go with the worst way, then we will have SQL query every place we need this. Let's say in the account, in the opportunity, even in the before, in the after, we will have query everywhere. That will be the baddest approach. And that will have a lot of number of lines of code as well, because every time you need it, you first create a list, then you create a map, then you create a loop, then you iterate through loop, put the values in the map. Okay, that will be a lot of resource intensive task as well. Okay, currently we put a limit, but there could be a scenario where we have so many addresses, right? So it will be the worst approach. We cannot obviously use it. So then we thought of creating a utility class. At least it will save our number of lines of code. Okay. Every time we need it, we will just call the utility class and get the address. Okay, so we will save a lot of code writing every time we need it in the trigger or any other Apex class. But this also had a problem, because if in a single transaction there are multiple objects which are iterating and all of them need address, it will query the address every time a child object needed. So it will have again a lot of SOQL queries. Even though it is optimized, it will not be optimized in for the very long, and it will still have a lot of problems, because it will create the different instances of this utility class every time they need address. So to solve that, we use the singleton pattern, which promote us to check if the instance has already been created in the same transaction. How we are doing it? With the help of static keyword, we are able to idealize if the instance has already been created, then this will be an active instance, and give it back to the class. If it is not created, then create the new instance. So in this manner, we will save a lot of SOQL query with the help of the static keywords as well. Okay, all the notes of this is available in the Apex design pattern book, although they have used a different example, which is bit complex than this one. But if you understand this one, then you will also be able to understand that example as well. Plus, there are tons of example available throughout YouTube, throughout Google to understand the singleton pattern. But sooner you revise it, better you will be able to understand. Okay, from the interview point of view, it is not very important, to be very frank. It is important for the people who are going to give interview for 5+ years of experience. They may ask what is design pattern, and then it is up to you how you explain what kind of design pattern you know. And then there can be follow-up questions if your interviewer also knows about it. So let's say you said that yes, I have worked on singleton pattern, or I know singleton pattern, and if he has also worked on singleton pattern, then he may ask couple of questions. But I have never seen any counter questions on any of these topics. So even when I was giving interview for my current role, this topic did come. They asked me about the design patterns and all, but when I explained, there was no follow-up question on these. Okay, there are so many other design patterns as well, but those will be very helpful for you once you actually get the job and start working on it to improve your knowledge, to improve your implementation skills. But from the interview point of view, do not get much into this topic, because this is important for you to know. So if you just revise two design patterns and know what design pattern is, what is the advantage, what is the use of design pattern, I think from the interview point of view, that is sufficient. Okay, now let me stop sharing and stop